Goals bring glory! But what if we take one step back? Not the scorer, but the one who gave the ball. The pass. The most underestimated art in football. A perfect pass can be deadlier than the hardest shot. Yet fans rarely remember the passer. The headlines belong to the finisher, but the architect stays in the shadows. A shot decides seconds, but a pass destroys structures. One ball through the lines can erase an entire defense. Psychology. The passer thinks 2 moves ahead. He sees space where others see chaos. His art is invisible until the net shakes. Xavi. Barcelona's and Spain's heartbeat. His passes cut like a scalpel. Not goals, but short passes made Spain world champions. Xavi wasn't fast, flashy or lethal, but he was the mind, a strategic visionary who didn't just play the game, he wrote it. Özil, the king of assists, gentle, almost invisible, yet deadly. His passes at Real Madrid and Arsenal sliced defenses apart. But Özil's tragedy, if you don't score, you're forgotten. His art was subtle, and that's why underrated. Pirlo, the conductor from deep. One ball, 40 meters, and a defense collapsed. His passes were daggers. Pirlo proved speed means nothing without timing. Psychology calls this anticipatory control, always one step ahead. But Xavi, Özil, Pirlo, they're just 3 names. There are others, forgotten passers, whose deadly art nobody honors. And we will reveal them next. In Block 1, we saw how Xavi, Özil, and Pirlo shaped the game with invisible art. But they weren't alone. There are others whose passes were so deadly they decided games, created careers, and won titles. And yet, few talk about them today. This is the story of those who changed football not by scoring, but by creating. Riquelme, Boca Juniors' soul, Argentina's brain, a maestro who dictated tempo. His passes were stabs, a glance, a pause, and suddenly the ball was through. Riquelme lived patience. He killed defenses in slow motion. 2010, Schneider carried the Dutch to the World Cup final, Inter Milan's treble architect. His trademark, the vertical killer ball, played in the perfect split second. Manchester City's engine, Pep's ultimate weapon, his crosses, through balls, devastating. A single ball, defenders helpless. De Bruyne is rare. Vision plus execution. Artist and machine. Balance of intuition and discipline. Arsenal's wonder kid. Later Barca, Chelsea, laser-like through balls. One pass, entire defense is gone. Fabregas had courage. He risked where others played safe. That courage made him deadly. Patterns emerge. Riquelme, patience. Sneijder, timing. Modric, intelligence. De Bruyne, precision. Fabregas, courage. They destroyed structures, not with shots, but with thoughts. That made them lethal. But if they were so deadly, why are they rarely remembered? That answer lies in the next part. The world remembers goals. It remembers World Cups, Champions League trophies, golden boots. But what about the ones who changed everything with a single pass? The playmakers who destroyed defenses and yet disappeared from memory. This chapter is dedicated to the forgotten architects, the silent creators, the men who saw what no one else could see and yet were overshadowed, mislabeled, or erased by history. Michael Laudrup, perhaps the most elegant passer of his generation. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Denmark. He was adored by teammates, feared by opponents. His passes were hypnotic, not just accurate, they were deceptive. A glance one way, the ball the other. He cut through defenses with a kind of magic, and yet he rarely enters debates about the greatest. Why? Because he didn't score like Ronaldo or Messi. He created, he built, he stayed in the shadows. Psychologists call this invisible labor, work that defines outcomes but gets no recognition. Laudrup was the gentle killer. His victims were defensive lines, his weapon a ball guided by imagination. Rui Costa, Portugal's maestro. At Fiorentina, he made Batistuta immortal. At Milan, he set Shevchenko free. His passes were blades through armor, sharp, subtle, surgical. But history remembers Batistuta's goals, Shevchenko's strikes. Rui Costa became the second violin, The conductor who let others shine. He destroyed defenses with elegance, but the world applauded the finishers, not the man who gave them life. Argentina's La Brujita. Veron had vision, power, deadly passing. At Lazio, he was brilliant. At Manchester United and Chelsea, the weight of expectation crushed him. Germany's 70s genius. Netzer's long balls were like arrows from deep midfield. 1973 Cup final, he subbed himself in, then decided the game with a pass and a goal. And yet, Beckenbauer's halo overshadowed him. The halo effect erased Netzer's name from global debates. But those who saw him know. He was one of the deadliest passers in German history, Colombia's icon. His hair unforgettable, his passes even more so. He was slow, he didn't score, but his vision was unmatched. One flick of his boot and strikers were through on goal. But because he never played for a giant club, the world forgot him. Psychology calls this context perception. Without the spotlight, greatness fades. When people think of Gareth Bale, they see the spectacular. That solo run against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey, that bicycle kick in the 2018 Champions League final. But Bale wasn't just a finisher, he was a deadly provider. His crosses and through balls at Real Madrid made Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema unstoppable. Psychologists call it selective perception. Fans remember the fireworks, the goals, the speed, the finals, but they forget the subtle creation. Between 2014 and 2017, Bale was one of Madrid's most productive assisters in the legendary BBC trio. Yet history doesn't frame him as a passer. It frames him with injuries, conflicts, and golf memes. The tragedy? One of the deadliest passers in white was remembered not for his vision, but for his absence. There are more names lost in the fog of football memory. Jorge Valdano, Argentina's thinker in attack. JJ Okocha, famous for tricks, but underrated for passes. Bernd Schuster, a genius at Madrid and Barca, eclipsed by conflict. Frank Rijkaard, remembered as a defensive shield, but secretly one of the best pass distributors of his generation. What connects Laudrup, Rui Costa, Veron, Netzer, Valderrama, Bale? Overshadowed by bigger stars, Laudrup by Romario and Stoichkov, Netzer by Beckenbauer, Bale by Ronaldo. Wrong context. Valderrama without a giant European stage. Invisible labor. Rui Costa and Fabregas feeding scorers while headlines went elsewhere. Burden of labels. Veron as the new Maradona. Selective perception. Bale remembered for goals, forgotten for assists. They destroyed defenses. They created legends, but history forgot them. And maybe this is football's cruelest truth. Being brilliant doesn't guarantee. Goals are visible, loud, they're explosions. Passes are subtle, they happen seconds before glory, and that's why fans forget them. Psychologists call this the primacy and recency effect. We remember the start and the end. The middle fades, the pass is forgotten. But those who know football understand. The passer destroys structures. One ball can dismantle a defense, shift tempo, open the game. The passer is the puppeteer, the architect, the assassin in the shadows. From Xavi to Ozil, Pirlo to Riquelme, Sneijder to Modric, De Bruyne to Laudrup, even Gareth Bale, they prove the truth. The game is not won by the shot, but by the thought before it. These players prove 4 truths. Invisible work is forgotten. Comparisons destroy identity. Context defines memory. Forgetting is crueler than failure. They destroyed everything. Not opponents, but the limits of the game. Yet the world rarely speaks their names. Today we count assists. We track expected assists. But no statistic measures the psychology of the deadly pass. Sometimes it's just a glance, a flicker of the eyes, and suddenly the ball slices through, into a space nobody else saw. That is the legacy. Proof that football is not just power, but intelligence, patience, courage. Picture an empty stadium, a ball at the center circle. No fans, no noise, no goal. A player lifts his head. He plays a pass, silent, perfect, invisible to the world, deadly to the game. That is the essence. The deadliest playmaker of all time, and no one talks about him. Now it's your turn. Which forgotten playmaker impressed you most? And who did we miss? Drop it in the comments. The best answer will be pinned. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe to Kicksplosion TV so you won't miss more hidden stories of football's greatest. Because sometimes it's not the goals that make football immortal, but the passes before them.